Wake up, Jason, please. Lying in his coffin, my husband's face was as gentle as ever. When I spoke to him, it felt as though he could wake up at any moment. I'm off, then. 2 days ago, he cheerfully called out to me and our daughter before leaving on a business trip. Little did I know that it would be the last time I'd hear his voice. Jason had taken his own life. No matter how much I called out to him, there was no way he, now as cold as ice, would respond. Yet, I just couldn't bring myself to believe this reality. That's when I noticed a single photo placed on his chest. It was a family photo that I didn't remember placing there. Who put this photo here? Curious, I picked up the photo and turned it over to find the words "Run away now" written on the back. A chill ran down my spine, and as I turned around, I met the cold gaze of my mother-in-law, Susan. Little did I know at that time, the nightmarish days that awaited me. My name is Emily, 32 years old. My parents passed away in a car accident when I was in college, leaving me all alone, and it was unbearable. During that time, the support I received from my then-boyfriend Jason, whom I married right after graduating, was invaluable. I lived happily with him and our 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Our in-law family consisted of my mother-in-law, Susan, and my brother-in-law, Kevin. My father-in-law had passed away from illness a year ago. Even though it was said to be an illness, the sudden onset of suffering that led to his death shocked the entire family. It was apparently a heart attack. They were wealthy, owning a business, so we were never in financial trouble. My father-in-law, who had both business acumen and a kind heart, had considered his younger son, Jason, as the successor. However, he passed away unexpectedly before this could be realized, and ultimately, the eldest son, Kevin, took over the family business. Dad did mention he wanted me to take over, but I can't just step ahead of Kevin. I'm here to support him, Jason said. He really admired his older brother and had no objections to him taking the role of CEO. Kevin has always been kind to me too, approachable and easy to talk to. But I find Susan a bit challenging, and we don't interact much these days. When we first got married, she was very kind, cooking with me and saying, "I'm so happy to do this together since I don't have a daughter." But she turned cold suddenly after my father-in-law passed away. She became distant to both Jason and me, avoiding eye contact and ignoring us, which was confusing. Even Lily, who was adored as the first grandchild, was met with glaring eyes and dismissed when she approached, calling her grandma. It was painful to see Jason saddened by the drastic change in his once kind mother. Mom's acting weird, right? It's like she sees me as an enemy. Maybe she's after the inheritance? Or could it be some illness? He pondered, but he couldn't figure out why. Thinking back, I first noticed the change in her during the seventh-day memorial service for my father-in-law when we stayed over at their house. We were exhausted and slept deeply, but in the morning, we noticed our bags with our clothes were missing. A thief, maybe? No, it's strange that only our bags are missing. Let's look around. While searching, we saw smoke rising from the backyard through the window. Fearing the worst, we went outside to find our belongings being burned. And there was Susan, standing nearby. "Mom, you didn't do this, did you? Please, Susan, answer us." However, she didn't respond at all. Her eyes were wide, her lips pale, and her hands were trembling as if she was terrified. "Why would you do this? What about us don't you like?" Jason, unable to hide his confusion at her silence, looked into her eyes and spoke gently. "You're not thinking we're after your assets, are you? I don't care about your money, so please relax. We care about you, Susan." We pleaded earnestly, but she coldly retorted, "Get out of here quickly. And don't ever come back." Confused and without understanding why, we left the house in a hurry and became estranged, hardly visiting over the past year. I wondered if this was okay, feeling like there was no reaching Susan, who clearly seemed to despise our family. However, one day, we received an invitation from her for a memorial mass in honor of my father-in-law. We attended, along with other relatives, but her attitude towards us remained as cold as ever. After returning home, Jason seemed lost and thought more often. "What's wrong, Jason? Are you worried about your mother?" Oh. Yeah. Let me know if there's anything I can do." "It's okay, Emily. You don't need to worry about anything. Seeing the worry in my eyes, he gently caressed my cheek, offering reassurance. His kind smile truly comforted me, easing my troubled heart. About a month passed. "All right, I'll be going then." As always, he cheerfully called out to me and our daughter before leaving on a business trip. However, he soon returned, saying, "I forgot to give you this," and handed me a charm. "This will surely protect you." With a warm and gentle smile, he looked at me. At that moment, I felt truly grateful to be married to him. However, the next day, a shocking event occurred. He had taken his own life. His car was found on a mountain road near his parents' home, with him inside, foam at his mouth, having passed away. Although he told me he was going on a business trip, the company said there was no trip scheduled that day. Moreover, I was told that just before his death, he called Kevin saying, "I can't do this anymore. Living has become too painful. I'm sorry." I tried my best to stop him, but it ended up like this. Kevin apologized to me repeatedly. According to the police, they found traces of poisonous plants in his stomach. This type of plant, which grows in the mountains, could be easily obtained by someone with a bit of knowledge. Ultimately, with Kevin's testimony, it was concluded that he must have ingested it with the intent to end his life. I had no idea why this had happened and blamed myself for not noticing my husband's suffering. Standing in front of his remains, I nearly collapsed, but Kevin supported me. "Stay strong, Emily. I'm suffering too. I wish I had been more understanding of Jason's feelings. Why did this happen?" My daughter Lily, too, was crying as she hugged me. However, Susan, with a pale face, was the only one without tears, glaring at us. As I mourned, Kevin and others from the company proceeded with the funeral arrangements on my behalf. "Please, wake up." On the day of the funeral, as I spoke to my husband lying peacefully in his coffin, it felt as if he might wake up at any moment. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I clung to him. It was at that moment I noticed a single photo placed on his chest. Who put this photo here? Puzzled, I picked up the photo to find his face in the family picture was cut out with a knife. On the back was written, "Run away now." What is this? Who was the runaway message intended for? As a chill ran down my spine and I turned around, I met the cold gaze of Susan. Could it be? As I stared back, she averted her eyes as if flustered. I couldn't help but feel that she knew something. And so, without anyone noticing, I quietly slipped the photo into my pocket. After the funeral had settled down and some time had passed, I began to wonder again about the photo. I still didn't know who had placed it in the coffin, but the S in the message might be an initial, right? If so, the only person that comes to mind with an S is Susan. In other words, my mother-in-law. Furthermore, I just couldn't believe that my husband would leave me and our daughter to take his own life. And I was desperate to understand even a little bit of the reason behind it. That's why I decided to visit her. When I arrived at her house, she greeted me with the same cold expression as always. Unfortunately, Kevin was out at work, leaving just the two of us. "What brings you here all of a sudden?" I wanted to know if there was any clue here about why he passed away." Standing in front of her, I didn't have the courage to confront her directly, so I lied on the spur of the moment. I casually looked up at the large bookshelf that filled one wall of the living room, hoping to find a way to start a conversation. The family, known for their studious nature, had a bookshelf filled with not only novels but also encyclopedias and dictionaries. There were also several books that Jason used to read during his student days, and I picked up a few, feeling nostalgic. Each book had a library stamp at the end of the pages to indicate the owner, and his stamp had a cat snuggled next to the letter J. Seeing this, a smile naturally came to my face. But I could feel her cold gaze on me from behind. Then, I noticed a book with a cover on it. When I picked it up, it was a detailed book about poisonous plants. Some pages were marked with sticky notes, and opening one, I found the same poisonous plant he had used. The last page of the book also had the owner's stamp. "Susan, what does this mean?" "That is..." As I confronted her with the book in hand, she broke down in tears. "It's all my fault. Forgive me." And the truth she revealed was astonishing. "Please, make sure to inform the police." "Yes, I will." I then reported to the police. Just then, Kevin, unaware of what had transpired, came home. Noticing the sad expressions on our faces, he asked with concern. What happened? It's rare for you to be here. Did something happen? Just. I wanted to talk about Jason with Susan. I see. It was a sad event, wasn't it? Has your heart settled a bit, Emily? Unable to reveal the truth to him, who spoke kindly and with concern as usual, I hesitated and looked down. Then, he began to say something unexpected. I know this might not be the right time to say this, but I've always had feelings for you, Emily. And I think Lily is adorable too. Would you consider remarrying with me? I was shocked by the sudden proposal. I had never imagined that he would harbor such feelings for me. Thank you, but I can't think about that right now. Yeah, I understand. Scratching his head and saying sorry with an embarrassed look, I presented him with the photo in question. Seeing the photo with Jason's face torn up and the message on the back, "Run away now," he paled and gasped for breath. This was inside his coffin. Who would do such a thing? It seems someone who knew who was responsible for his death was among the funeral attendees. Wait a minute. Jason ended his own life, so talking about a perpetrator doesn't make sense. His eyes darted around, seemingly confused. But in my dreams, he screams, I was framed by that guy. I hold a grudge. Startled by my words, he stared at me with wide eyes. As if he had seen something terrifying. And this, I found on the living room bookshelf. I presented the book about poisonous plants I had found earlier, pointing out the owner's stamp. It bore the stamp of IK, indicating it belonged to him, Kevin. What are you trying to say? Are you accusing me of killing my brother? I didn't answer his question but continued. Susan, who had been silent and looking down, watched the unfolding scene with bated breath. Also, please look at this. I took out the charm Jason had given me and extracted a letter from inside. It read, "My brother murdered our father with poisonous plants." During the funeral, I was holding on to the charm he had given me because I was in so much pain. It was then I felt something inside it and discovered the letter. This isn't proof. But what about this? I pulled out my phone and started playing a video. It showed a conversation between Jason and Kevin. In the video, Kevin admitted to taking their father's life using poisonous plants. He also said, "I didn't target your family. I will confess to the police myself." Jason had secretly set up a camera in the family home when he decided to talk to him. This was also mentioned in the letter from Jason. When I first saw this, I was furious and felt a boiling rage. So, you admitted your guilt to my husband, reassuring him, and then you also took his life using poison? Jason believed in you until the end. Why did you do this? As I pressed for answers, his previously kind expression changed drastically, and he glared at me menacingly, clicking his tongue in annoyance. At that moment, Susan burst into tears and spoke with a strained voice. Why would you do such a cruel thing? She had confided everything to me earlier. The brothers used to be very close in their childhood. However, as they grew, Kevin became jealous of his talented younger brother and started to hide or break his belongings in petty acts of malice. They noticed this and disciplined him strictly. But Jason never blamed his older brother and instead admired him, which pained Susan. After my father-in-law passed away, she found the book about poisonous plants while cleaning the bookshelf. My husband was diagnosed with a heart attack, but he had never been warned about heart issues in any medical examination before. So, I thought something was off. When I checked the bookmarked sections of the book, the symptoms matched exactly with how he died. I was shocked. She didn't notice initially because the book was covered, but Kevin had been keenly reading that book about poisonous plants. Moreover, a photo of Jason's face, cut up with a knife, was also found between the pages of that book. However, without more concrete evidence, she didn't think confronting him would lead to a confession. She was severely shaken when she saw Kevin burning our bags during the seventh-day memorial service for Jason. That's why she acted coldly towards us, to keep us away from the family home for our safety. The regret in her voice was palpable as she spoke, and I couldn't say anything in response. Even though we kept our distance from the family home, his demeanor grew more hostile, muttering to himself about needing to deal with Jason. That's why I wanted to warn you about the danger. using the photo found in the book about poisonous plants. I secretly told Jason that Kevin might have killed my husband. But it ended up backfiring. If Jason had remained unaware, he would not have gone to see his brother, and none of this would have happened. Susan blamed herself for everything. I had no words to respond to her. It's all because Dad started saying he wouldn't let me take over the company. But Jason always said he couldn't become the president over you. I don't care about that. Kevin. Dad loved you too, so did Jason. You didn't have to go this far. What's the point now? It's all because you parents only loved the younger son. Also Jason, who always played the good guy. It's all your fault. His defiance was clear, and his smile was almost devilish. How dare you harm my beloved husband? I'll never forgive you. Shut up. If you hadn't interfered, I might have made you my wife. In a fit of rage, he suddenly pulled out a knife he had been hiding and charged at me. I cried out, "Help me," and tried to flee in a panic, but he was quick and soon closed in on me. Cornered, with the knife raised above me, I instinctively closed my eyes at that moment. That's when it happened. Someone collided with us from the side, protecting me. It was Susan. Susan, are you okay? She grimaced, holding her arm where blood was seeping out. Kevin, please stop this madness. I beg you, turn yourself in. Shut up. Both of you need to disappear. But you've achieved your dream of becoming the president. Why go this far? I need the money. He took over the company, but just as his father had predicted, he lacked the talent for business management. Within a year, he found himself burdened with significant debt, leading to a desperate need for money. Incredibly, he had taken out a large life insurance policy on his own brother. Laughable, isn't it? Jason believed me so easily when I said I'd go to the police. He said, laughing hideously. I felt an overwhelming sense of disgust at his demeanor. But that fool didn't drink the poison wine I offered him for a farewell toast, which was wisely cautious. But he did shake my hand, not knowing it had poison on it. Jason had a habit of licking his hands, right? Seems like it took effect in the car on his way back. Gloating, he revealed everything, swinging the knife menacingly at us. Even then, Jason wanted to save you. How could you not understand his feelings? Like I care. It's all the fault of a family that treated him like he was something special. At that moment, the police I had called earlier arrived. To the end, he continued to struggle, insisting, I'm not to blame. Forgive me. Let me go. People like you deserve to go to hell. My words made him gasp, and he finally subdued, allowing the police to take him away. Fortunately, her injuries were not serious. Ultimately, he showed no remorse, ensuring he would remain behind bars. Now, I live with Susan in the family home. She has returned to her kind self from before, doting on my daughter and living happily with us. And the letter inside the charm had more to say. You are my treasure, Emily. Always. I love you. Holding his feelings close to my heart, I resolved to keep living,